This is Cindy with Energized Living Today, and I'm excited because Lori Spagna is here. And Lori, I have been wanting to talk to you so much. And right now, with Ferris being so sick, I have Ferris's kitties. And when I went to feed them, I was just supposed to go over and feed them. And I ended up saying to my aunt, no, we need to take them because this is going to take a while. I just had that feeling really, really strongly. And so I nabbed his kitties, and they're here now in the room with me. They might, well, there's one. I'm going to bring him up on camera while I'm grabbing. And this is the lovely Mr. Rascal, and one of Ferris's little boys, and he's a little love butt. This guy
He's
is
not a little boy. He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He's a big boy. Are you a big boy? And he's so loving and so caring. And he's hanging out with my dog Gidget. And he just, nothing really bothers him much. But he is, you know, both of them are not sure what's going on. So that's one of the things that I want to talk about today. And I know that everybody has fur babies here on the show, and they're really curious. As we are all going through these changes, not just Ferris, but all of us are going through so many changes with our environment. We're being asked to do things we've never thought we'd be asked to do in our lifetimes. And our fur babies, to me, are our greatest comfort because they're not judging, they're just loving. And so
Cindy, this thing on my nose right here?
Yeah.
My parents just got a new little puppy.
Oh,
He's big. And I was playing with him and he bit me on my nose.
He bit you?
Well, play bite.
Yeah.
He's got those sharp puppy teeth.
Oh my goodness.
I tried to cover it up, but I'm very distracted by it myself. And since you're talking about our fur babies, I was having the best time with him, but I didn't even know what happened until I got up and I was like, oh, I have to get ready. And I was like, what? It just happened 10 minutes ago.
Well, we can't even see it. So
I'm glad all the fur baby lovers can understand that there's like a spot on my nose where he literally put his tooth in me and blood came out.
Oh my goodness.
But I didn't even notice it. He's such an angel. But here, there are angels. There are babies.
They are. And you know, this is such an important time for our critters, and not just them. I go out and I was talking to the turkeys this morning that hang out in my backyard, and they walk down the sidewalk, and the deer.
Year of prosperity and abundance for you.
Yes. I call it social distancing. And there were 4 of them out there again. And so they're in the cul-de-sac all the time. And I go out and I talk to them, and I say, you know, please spread your unconditional love to everyone, because this is not an easy time for everybody. So, you know, we have all these beautiful, whether there are pets or there are other fur babies that are around, they're here for us and they will communicate with us. But we have to know how to do that, Lori. So the 3 questions that I came up with for you that we'll talk about in your infinite wisdom. And by the way, she has helped us in the past with lost pets and pets that have transitioned and pets that have not been acting well. And she's the one that told me to smudge my house because Band-Aid wouldn't come in the house until I did. And I no more than finished, and he was on my bed. It was the most amazing thing. So
I don't even remember that.
What is that?
I just remember we've done a lot of stuff, but I never store up anyone else's, you know, reading or what happens with their, I don't remember that, but that's
Yeah.
I do remember our so many of our times together. And
yeah.
Working with you and your animals. I just don't remember the specifics, but that's cool. Love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, that's what happened. And all of the cats, in fact, were back on the bed after I did that. And it was, I mean, I barely finished, and they were in the house, and Band-Aid hadn't been in the house for 3 months.
I remember that. I do remember that. But there were some other things going on. But anyway, yes, that's very cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But this is, you do so many different things, Lori, but this is the thing to me is your magic that touches so many of us, especially in a time like now. So some of the questions that I've come up with is, in today's world, what are our critters mirroring for us? Because that's one of the things that you talk about so well, that our pets our fur babies are mirroring us.
Mm-hmm.
How do we identify what they want, what they are telling us, and what can we do to stay awakened to their message? So
Mm-hmm.
those are kind of the three things that I would like to just focus on today. And before we answer those questions, I just want you to say hi to everybody and tell them
Hi,
a little
everyone.
bit about you and what's been going on.
Well, I mean, I just tell people for who don't know me, my name is Lori Spagna, and yeah, I mean, my kind of journey started with my love for animals. It just was born out of that, and animals became my teachers, and I was learning from them just very early on in my own awakening journey, and that love for the animals, I always feel like they recruited me to do
Mm,
service for them. And as that service and that love and that joy grew, I just went on an ascension. I was on an ascension path. And that was my evolutionary journey, was like, it became a path of ascension. It wasn't really just about the animals. They helped me to ascend, essentially, and through this ascension journey that we're all going through on planet Earth. So they've always been my greatest teachers in that sense. And I think they're some of the greatest teachers for all of humanity if we're willing to receive that. So, that's the sort of a shortened version. But anyway, I've been working with animals for well over 20 years. And, now I do everything metaphysical, because what happens, and this really is true, is that when we follow our joy and our love and we do it in sincere service, it doesn't need to be animals. Whatever your joy or your love is and your sincere desire to contribute, to be of service, to make whatever positive contributions you can, that is what will propel you, all of us, forward in our ascension journey. That is like the path to ascension, essentially, is following your love and your joy and then offering it in service. And so anyway, that's what the animals were for me. But now my whole role is like an ascension guide, and I am a multidimensional channel. I'm able to channel beyond 12 dimensions of, I'm able to channel whatever is divinely provided, and I'm able to discern what's coming in. I can channel other people's high selves, group collectives of animals. So the animals will be amazingly vocal through me, and ascended masters, angels, angel gods, and star family races, benevolent beings. So all of that sort of comes through in service and contribution to whomever I'm working with and involved with. So anyway, but going back to the mirror part, Cindy, yeah, I think the world is a mirror. And so
true.
if we just set a platform or a stage for our conversation, like a platform for operating, what's going on with humanity right now is that from my perspective, is that the slate has been wiped clear for all of humanity. And depending on each individual's perception of what they perceive, in combination with their vibration, their energy bandwidth, their frequency bandwidth, that creates the mirror projection, in a sense, of what they will be experiencing at this time. And so while there's this kind of collective unifying, overlapping reality that we could call COVID, what's really happening is everybody's leveling up to their own degree of mastery, where they get to say, here's what's in my reality, and here's what I'm doing with it. Here's how I feel about it. Here's how I'm engaging with it. And we might perceive that that is the same as what other people are having, but it's not. So someone else will be like, oh, here's what is in my reality, and here's what I'm doing with it. And again, based on anyone's consciousness and frequency bandwidth is what they're then feedback looping into their own experience, because we're all the witnesses, the mirror projection. We're both the mirror and the mirror projection. So we're witnessing this on our platform, we're extending it out, and we're creating, in a sense, which is a biofeedback loop that reflects back at us to experience and see. This is exactly what the animals say. They just don't say it in that languaging. But does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. And to that point, for just a moment, this is what I got, is that what has become viral became physical. So the viral um, judgment, hate, discord that we have been feeling has become a virus, a physical virus that mirrors our behavior, the social behavior that has become the norm.
Mm.
So is that what you are saying in essence?
I think that's a way to interpret it. That sounds very accurate in a sense, but there's so many interpretations, and it's kind of like, the way I see it is, it's a convergence of all overlapping possibilities that humanity could experience. And this convergence allows each individual and subgroups of individuals to choose their experience, both consciously and unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one dynamic, like I think I heard you say, like, we are the virus in our social experiences. And I can see and resonate with that perspective. And I could also share a lot more, and I'm sure everybody here could, like, there's just so many perspectives about, the reflection of what this was. I mean, if you also think of it like, we had a lot of fires in a lot of our major forests around the world. South America, Australia, California, forest fires. And those are the lungs of our planet. And now the lungs of our humanity are being challenged. That's an aspect of it. We could also say that we were all praying for clean water and clean skies and clean air. And we all had a collective agreement that we wanted that to happen in a very fast and benevolent way. And we got that. We also could say that humanity was praying for a timeout. There was just, everyone was working too hard and things were moving too fast and we couldn't keep up and we just wanted some timeout. We could also say Mother Earth said, hey kids, I want you to take a timeout. Look what you've been doing to me. I need a timeout. I mean, there's a lot of translations of how it's showing up. And ultimately, I think what's more important in a sense, even though all that's important, is that we start in our mastery, because this is a 22 year, which is a master number, which is like leveling up to our mastery, where we get to decide, okay, now that I can see all of the perspectives, what am I going to choose? What am I going to choose to experience? And the challenge with that is to be able to look at all of the experiences that are presenting and from a divine neutral place say, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. Yes, please. Yes. I'll have more of that. And to realize that just because somebody else is saying, this is mandatory, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, you can say, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, yes, please. Now, humans we don't really understand that that's possible for us. The animals totally do.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to understand that, because you see, they already speak that language of energy. That feels terrible, yicky. No thanks, no thanks. That feels sticky, yicky. That feels small. No thanks, no thanks. That feels good. Yes. Right? And that's what we're learning, is the energetics, because, like, it's that whole concept, like, is your perspective that we're in a state of, like, for me, I'm in a state of immunity. I'm not in a state of what's that other word? Emergency. We're in a state of emergency. So for me, I just know, like, I work with the DNA and I work with, unconscious programming, clearing, and then downloading and activating, reprogramming our own consciousness. So when we do that, we can absolutely know within ourselves that we have the capacity and the ability to be 100% immune and impervious to this. And that does
I've
not.
already had it,
What's that?
I've already had it.
You have?
Yeah, I had it before we even knew it was in the country.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
A lot of people.
Yeah, the nurses were telling me I have a residual heart issue from it. And the nurses were telling me November and December is when they started seeing a rise in cases.
Yes.
And so what I'm told about this whole thing is that it's more about what the virus is asking us is to learn again about respect and not fear, not about fear, but about respect, because that's one of the big things that we have lost around the world is
Mhm.
respect. And I love the way that you said, this is multidimensional. This isn't on an earth plane, it's about respect. And then on the next level, it's going to be about this. And on the next level, it's going to be about this. And on the next level, it's ascension. That
Yes.
makes complete sense to me.
Yes. And I mean, see, Cindy, you're a very advanced being in a sense, not to make us, better, worse, advanced or not advanced, but just your consciousness is evolved enough to be able to see and perceive it from that perspective. But to someone else, it's more just about learning how to wash their hands.
You're right.
But it's still a respect, it's a form of respect. Or to someone else, it's about learning how to pay more attention to what's really happening in the world. Or to someone else, it's about learning how to unplug from the news and stop giving their power of their perspective and their energy to what I would call lamestream media.
Lame.
I mean, it's all different lessons, it's like it's serving every individual on the face of the planet. It is serving everyone. And certainly we can see how the animal kingdom in nature is being served because they're proliferating. They're actually doing so much better.
The deer and the turkey have not been here much,
Mm,
and now they are showing up again. The
right,
last couple of years, I've hardly seen them. And my
right.
dad was so bummed because he used to love to go outside and watch the deer and the turkey and the other critters. We've got coyotes and bobcats, and there's a lot of animals back in the woods.
But
And
where are you again? I forget.
I'm in Franklin, Tennessee.
Oh, wow. That's a nice
I
area.
have I have the country in back of me. I'm on
Yeah.
a hill where there's a water tower in back of me, so nobody can build in back of me. But you walk out my front door, and I'm less than a mile from the mall. I am,
Mm,
5 minutes from anything that you want. So
mm,
it's really an amazing property that we're at, and
yeah.
we get all these animals. But like I said, there's been so much going on around here um, that we haven't seen them like we used to see them, and now they're showing up again. And that to me that started speaking to me when we started talking about you coming on, that
Mm.
even they are responding so quickly to this environmental change. And I just
Mm,
go out there and like I said, I talk to him, and Gary always gets amazed. He walks outside, they run off. I walk outside and they stand there and they'll listen to me. And he's
mm.
like, I just can't believe it. And I said, but I'm tapping into something different than just this animal standing in front of me. I'm
You're
energetically.
meeting a vibrational resonance that they're vibrating at. And in that meeting of a vibrational resonance, there's like, it's like a plug in in a socket. You're matching.
Mm,
That's such a huge part of what information exchange with animals is. I mean, that's not like the science behind it, but energetically, that's what it is. You bring yourself into vibrational resonance with the state of consciousness that that animal is in, and they can receive you and then translate back and exchange free flow energy. So in a way that's discernible to us when we're aware of the fact that we're doing it, when we practice it and play with it enough, we know that that's what's going on. So for animals, it's almost like they'll communicate with us all the time. But when we're functioning, I mean, not every animal will always communicate with us all the time, but overall, the collective of animals is very willing to communicate with us. But our human activity and our human brain function and our human energy fields have been so hardwired for a different kind of frequency bandwidth that we haven't been able to just vibrate into their bandwidth to know what they're providing or exchanging or sharing. And when you're doing that, that's basically what you're doing. You're able to, in such an effortless way. It's not like we have to analyze how we do it. We just start playing with it. It's very intuitive. It
mhm.
really is. I mean, you can get trained in how to do it and all the science of it, left brain, right brain, heart centered, gut center, shifting brainwave frequencies. And when I teach the classes on that, that's part of how I teach, discerning on what you're getting and how to translate it. But overall, without all that, it's a simple energetic match. And it's about getting out of that, the way human programming is. We are not in harmony and resonance with all that is. And I think that's part of what COVID is helping us. Sit still, be still, get in harmony and resonance with what is. And whatever you, whoever you are, each of us, gets in harmony and resonance with is what we provide as a mirror reflection and a biofeedback loop to us to experience. Make sense?
That makes complete sense to me. It sure does. You've actually filled in some blanks for me. So
Oh,
thank
good. I love that.
Yes,
That
definitely.
means I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
This contribution, and because I love doing that. So
Yeah,
awesome.
I love that. Thank you. I want to talk about Ferris's critters for a little bit because I want to make sure that I'm of service to them. Like I said, I went over to pick them up, or not to pick them up, just to feed them when he went into the hospital. And as soon as I got there, I just had this knowing that he wasn't going to be out of the hospital for a long time. And um, I said, you guys got to come with me.
Tell me his name again.
Rascal.
Rascal. And then the other one, Little Rascal was his name, right? Little Rascal?
Well, little Rascal, but it's, yeah. And then
Penny.
Penny, yeah. And they both been here first. They were actually at my house first. When I got Gracie, Ferris got Rascal at the same time, and they came here first. And then Penny, I was actually a foster.
Yeah.
And so she's back into an environment that she's familiar with. And even my Pomeranian, they're like, okay, it's you again. So, and that surprises me because the Rascal hasn't been here in 2 years. So they're okay, but they know something's up.
They're outside of their element and they know that. I get that already. The first one came through, actually even more clear, was Penny. And her experience feels like she's already like a little interdimensional travel girl, which a lot of cats are. And she's traveling in her awareness to different galaxies, states of awareness. So when I ask her, do you know about your dad, Ferris? Do you know what's going on? She has an awareness that he's away. She has an awareness that something's wrong. She's in recognition that he's lost some of his childhood innocence, and that she is actually appointed to him to assist him with restoring some of his childhood innocence. And that's why she plays interdimensionally and intergalactically, because she captures a lot of that unknown to him and others. And she quite enjoys this. I could let her come through direct. I quite enjoy this. I quite enjoy this. And I bring this joy forward so that when I'm with my dad, as you call him, she doesn't use the word dad. When I'm with my dad, as you call him, he allows me to share that with him. Now she shifts to her higher consciousness than her personality self to bring in something higher, so to speak, an elevated state of awareness. The one known as Ferris, who I cohabitate with, has been going through a long and extended period of time in which his heart center has been that which you would perceive to be called blocked. We, his animal family, oftentimes provide to him opportunities to open and expand his heart center. It has been known to him for quite some time that he has isolated himself and secluded himself in certain ways so as to guard his own heart, but also, unfortunately, at sometimes to block his own heart. And at this time, this is what is expanding for him. And to the degree that it's possible for him, while he rests quietly, essentially, to the degree that he is willing to go within his own self, to open up more of his heart-centered knowing, which is what we, his animal family, have been assisting him with, he will come through quite nicely and quite well overall. This is what is required for him at this time. My cat personality does know this, but is not living with it from moment to moment. In other words, she, I, we are playing and frolicking as we often do, and at the same time very aware that we are at a new location. And this is quite sometimes dissettling to us, and at the same time we are settling in as effortlessly as we are able to. All is well and we are grateful. Okay, there's a backing off. So I mean, that's what I'm getting. She's grateful. She knows what's going on. And yet, it's not like in her cat personality mind or awareness in the same way, but the higher consciousness of her is, that's what I'm getting. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
The thing that hit me the most is you said you called him daddy, but she doesn't call him that. That's Rascal's playmate. That's Rascal's kitty. And she's kind of hides out from Ferris.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but she's very playful they'll go on and on and on. They play, they love each other, they sleep together, and that's Rascal's kitty. And he'll actually scoop her up and bring her into his arms. So he is her daddy, so to speak, and very protective.
She corrected me. I'm not. I used the word daddy and she didn't. That's right, to refer to Ferris. Right.
Yeah, you said she.
It's also interesting that you were saying she plays so much with Rascal, because what I'm hearing with that, just more from the two of them sort of as a collective, is that yes, but she is playful. That was what came through. But their play brings happiness and joy to him, just even to, watch or witness or be around. And I think that was part of what she meant when she was saying part of her job was to bring joy to him and play, playful.
Oh, he gets the greatest joy out of having a cat who has a cat. He just thinks it's the best thing in the world, and it is priceless to watch. The other thing that you said that it sent chills through me, and going back to what you were saying about mirroring, Ferris has been hiding for a long time. He's become a recluse, and she is reclusive where she hides out, but not with who she feels safe with, with her daddy, Rascal, or her brother, or whatever. I don't know what she calls him, but they could not be happier.
Your energy vibration is more social. She's just attuning to the frequency of the vibration that she's around, which is you and your home, which allows her to be more out than she would be, because at home with Ferris, she's picking up on that energy. Makes sense?
Being reclusive. Mm-hmm. So she's mirroring that, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's really, that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's never true, because animals always just find their vibrational resonance based on the environment. And even you can trace that to like Bruce Lipton and what, Dr. Bruce Lipton, he says everything is 100% environmental. Even our physiology, it's the environment of the cell and the consciousness that's informing the cell. I mean, it's true for animals too. They're adapting. So she's adapting to her environment with you. Make sense?
That makes complete sense. And my last question, in respect to my Pomeranian who sleeps with me every night, again, Penny's been snuggling up to.
We can connect also with Rascal a little if you want.
What is that?
I can get something straight from Rascal too.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. Let's do Rascal.
Let's see. He wasn't quite as talkative initially, but let's just see. Yeah, I mean, I hear him say, there's not much new for me to add other than that which has already been provided. I'm in agreement. And I am also grateful to be here and quite comfortable in my environment. I understand as well that this is a dissettling time for all the humans I'm around, and yes, my human person. And I am loving him and wishing him well, and I am also knowing I am well and all is well. And so to the degree that I am able to be well as I am, I can also, by extension, to provide wellness to him. Grammatical error. By extension, provide wellness to him. He's laughing because there was a translation there. Oh, he was giving it to me and I corrected his grammar, right? Okay, sorry. He's happy and comfortable in the home you're providing and grateful. and aware of the adjustment. So it's almost like he's just adding to what we received, as I'm understanding.
Penny.
And
Yeah.
he would also say, I mean, his name is invoking this, and I asked him, is this coming from me or him? And he says both. Like the Little Rascals is lighting up, like, you know, that's related to Ferris in the sense, this kind of cute little boy type of innocent type of energy, similar in a sense to the kind of innocence that Penny was talking about or speaking or sharing about. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense to me, because he is such an innocent, loving little boy. He is just.
Ferris is like that. Oh,
Yeah.
you mean Little Rascal, or you mean Ferris?
Rascal.
Oh, Ferris has that too. I mean, I feel like he does. And when I would say that stuff to Ferris, he'd be like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'd be like, yes, I see it in him. I mean, I don't know. You know, like we see what we see in other people. I see that in Ferris. Anyway, so awesome.
Cool.
All right, we want to check in with your little palm.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick her up.
While Cindy's picking her up, we have one question. Do we live multiple past lives with our pets?
The short answer is yes. And the answer I would elaborate on is the concept of past lives is, from my perspective, first of all, they're all parallel. There's no past, right? Because of linear time is part of our experience, but in reality, there is no linear time. So those are congruent, overlapping realities. And what it really is it's not so much a past lifetime or a parallel lifetime as much as it is your consciousness, the individuality of who you are, and the individuality of your animal companion coexist in consciousness at different points in time and space. And so your energetic bandwidth of awareness is existing together. So the answer is yes, and I just elaborated. I hope that makes sense, because you never get a short answer with me. You never get a short answer. Anyway, I hope that's helpful.
Oh, that's great. And I want to call on everybody else. I just want to be sure that this little one right here is okay with the changes. And I've got 3 kitties too.
Can you give me her name?
This is Gidget. Where's Squeaky? Okay, there, now her ear's up so you can see her fully.
She says, Mom, I want a toy. I want to play.
She is so toy motivated.
That's interesting. You just validated that. I mean, when you say okay with the changes, I get that all of your animals are okay with the changes. Here's what I noticed about Gidget. For some reason, I was told scan her. And I asked, why scan her? I don't usually go straight to scan. You can scan a body, right? And find out like what's there. And what I told was make sure that her heart's okay. And I said to the consciousness that's guiding me, my own consciousness, but also in collective union with Gidget, because her consciousness was collectively working with my own guidance. Mm-hmm. It's not really me, it's my mommy. And I asked, I said, her mommy knows that there was something heart-centered there. And she said, yes, but this is important. Now it comes through in real time. Yes, and this is important because notice how the discussion which you've been having has to do with Ferris's heart. And remember how mommy, Cindy, my mommy, referenced her heart center earlier. While my heart center is fine, it is important to notice this vibrational resonance, and that if my mommy is willing to do greater healing for her own heart center, this will shift the vibratory state of everything. This isn't her language. Something just interrupted there. Hold on. It's her higher self. Made a switch. Okay, thank you. So we went from personality to higher self without me fully realizing, but that's okay. So the higher self. If the human Cindy would be willing to do more of her own energy healing, and she does, of course, and has, of course, which has helped her to make tremendous progress. Nonetheless, as she does the heart-centered healing, this will help both the animals in her environment and Ferris. since this was where the inquiry was going. And the scan was merely to invite you, Lori, the opportunity to express this so that all could be revealed, that this heart-centered resonance is a vibratory state that's common in and around the household, but for both humans and animals. And while all are meant to recover well, the work could be done to assist. Just moved a little bit right there. But that's what's coming. That's what I just got.
That makes complete sense.
And she does really like being in your arms.
Yeah.
I get that too. She's your girl.
Yeah. She's a touch therapy doggy.
Oh.
We go to nursing homes.
That's
so sweetie. But this is a shift for her, and I want to be respectful of
She
her.
does like that. She says, I like the social. I like meeting other people. I like traveling to new places. I like going to different spaces. She seems to really enjoy that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
She seems to. We just can't do it right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. I would like to invite on Mary, because Mary has a kitty, Pumpkin, who has had some health issues, a little older kitty. So Mary, if you're there, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
So nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you too, Mary. What
Here's
is
my beautiful kitty right here, Pumpkin. He attends all these sessions.
Yep.
Absolutely loves being part of it. But he's getting on that point in his time where he's about ready to go.
What's going on with him there? Are you?
He's 18 plus years old. He's had some infection and trouble with his teeth, and we've done some major surgery on him at the end of last year. And he's just tired. He's got all kinds of matted fur because he's unable to really clean himself. And so I've just made him comfortable and given him everything that he talks to me about, that he asks for. I give it to him and more. And if you have anything that you can see from him, I would be delighted to hear it.
Can you just because I'm listening to you and tuning in, and I didn't retain in my memory bank the name of his
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. I'm sorry. How could I forget?
I actually call him Pumpkin, Punkin. He looks like a pumpkin, but I shortened it a tad.
I mean, I do get that he's ready to go when you're ready to let him go.
Uh-oh.
When you're ready to let him go. When you're ready. He's here for you more than for him. He is tired. And it's not, I mean, here's the more important, I just got it like a real heart drop, right? So that's hard news for you to hear. And I'm so sorry, because I understand, like, I really understand the pain of, like, you know, the end of life stages, right? But your cat knows how much you love him and have loved him. He's not in a rush or a hurry at all to leave. He's staying for as long as he can, for as long as you want him to, and that's okay with him. He's not trying to leave. He's not saying, get me out of here. I have had animals from time to time say, get me out of here, literally. So that's not at all what I'm hearing. He loves you. He knows he's loved. He is comfortable. He's not in great discomfort. It's mild discomfort is what I'm hearing and understanding. And your union together in this lifetime has helped you deepen your capacity for love and to learn your own self-worth and self-value, partially through the love you offered to him. And that in exchange helped him to develop and know his own self-worth and self-value. Going back to whoever asked the past life question, this cat has had other lifetimes where he was not treated as well. So this was a very significant lifetime for him in this sense, because you showed him a kind of love that he didn't always know. And there's a sadness there, and that's yours, and I feel that. You know, it's it's love, you know, and he's aware of that. And there's one other piece, and I'm hesitating to say this because it's coming from my own guidance and not him, and I want to ask. And there's another thing lighting up that's relevant, but I don't know what it means, and that is Piglet from that cartoon. Does that mean something to you? Does Piglet mean something to anyone on the call? If so, raise your hand. Lit up in a big way, that little cartoon character. But
From Winnie the Pooh.
yeah, from Winnie the Pooh. I have no idea why it's relevant, but it came right in. So, because I'm just open, right? But because I went back to my guidance, and I'm going to ask again if I should say this, if it's recommended. It's relevant and recommended, and I'm going to give it to you for your discernment. But one of the things that cleans up, because your cat won't enjoy this. The reason I was hesitant is because I know your cat won't really enjoy this. And I was asking, you know, how much good will it do? And what I got is, well, it could help. And we give it to Mary for her discernment. And that's that liquid chlorophyll, which you can get at any like Whole Foods or health food store, or you can buy it on Amazon. Comes in liquid dropper, and just dropped in the mouth cleans out all the gums. It's food, it's nourishment, it builds up the blood, it nourishes and strengthens the body, and it adds oxygenation inside the gums. So whenever there's any kind of infection and unfortunately it's very green, so it will kind of, you know, if you drop some of it into his mouth, if he'll let you do that, it will get him a little green, but it's all natural. Liquid chlorophyll is basically the greenest original plant food, you know, on earth, and it's super healthy. And since you mentioned the gums and the teeth problems, and I'll say one other thing. Does that make sense, Mary?
Yes, it does, because he doesn't want to go back to get any more treatments from the vet. He wants no part of it.
Yeah.
As his pain is only about 3 to 4% on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe about a 3. And so it's there, but he doesn't really feel like it's.
Yeah, I don't get that he's in pain, and I don't get that he's in. That's why I said like a mild discomfort.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he's not like in a rush to get out or any of that. He's staying, you know, as long as. So, I mean, all that's good, you know, and he knows the love. I think we said that already. We made that clear. There was one other piece that was lighting up. Oh, I got that. So the other piece that was lighting up, 2 other pieces, and I mean, I could go on for a long time, so we'll just stop after that. But because like every time we open up, just more and more comes. But was that whenever there's a lot of stuff going on in the teeth, mouth, gums area, it usually has to do with the decisions that we are not comfortable with making, or that we are not sure about, or that we question or doubt ourselves on. And so that lit up, like Mary, in her lineage, didn't always have the opportunity perhaps to make the right decisions for herself, or maybe even in any case, that's almost irrelevant. The point was to understand that some of the decisions you've had to make, okay, look, you guys, you got to see. This is left in my nose. This is left in my nose. Oh my God. Okay. And my,
Is that a boy?
he's a little boy. Oh my God. Oh
Want to be a daddy?
my father is here, and it's his new dog. My parents, they got a new dog.
It's so beautiful.
Oh my God, he's the cutest thing on the planet. I mean, they all are, right? But he's on my lap right now. So, all right. So let me go back. Yeah. So Mary, does that make sense about decisions being challenging? Like having, I mean, obviously just even about his care, that's challenging. But if it was manifesting in his teeth area, that would mean to me, I would translate that more from an intuitive and just a healthcare practitioner point of view, that in the events leading up to that were involving a lot of decisions that for you were hard. And if I were doing more time with you right now, I would do some downloads for you on how to make effective decisions with ease and grace and benevolence And you can ask for that yourself, right?
Mhm.
And that it's safe for you to trust yourself and to trust your decisions, because I get that that's part of what's still going on.
Uh-huh.
To trust yourself that you will always do your absolute best to make decisions and choices that are good and right and that are rightly aligned, because I get that that's part of what you're here learning.
Mhm.
Does that resonate?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
You're
Very.
welcome. Yeah. And the only other part about the lineage part that was lighting up was, Dad, will you get some water? Go drink some water for yourself. Yeah,
Okay, when I finish,
Okay.
I gotta leave now.
All right.
I have an appointment at 4:00, 4:15.
It's the what's that word? The non I can't remember. I can't think of the word I was thinking of it. When everybody's home at COVID, suddenly all the formality goes. Informality. The informality of these kinds of calls has totally changed because of COVID. So, all right. So, the other piece that was lighting up, and then I'll stop here, Mary, because I know there's probably other people, and we could, like I said, we could spend forever. But was that your family of origin, which I understand. You're an older woman. You're not a 14-year-old or an 18-year-old anymore, but your lineage is still affecting some of that, your choices, your decisions, and so even like some ancestral clearing and healing could assist as well. And not that that's not the highest priority, obviously, because your main priority is your cat at this time, of course. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I mean, there's none of us who our ancestral lineage doesn't affect us, right? That's what we're here. We heal the wounds of our ancestors.
Oh, yeah.
That's just part of being alive on planet Earth. We all heal the wounds of our ancestors.
We do.
Well, I'm sending your little cat so much love back there.
Thank you.
I'm glad he really does look quite comfortable, and I'm glad he's so loved and cared for,
He's a real lover boy, so he sends you much love back.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Andrew, do we have any other questions that have come up or comments that you want to read?
I'll read the comment because it relates to Mary's situation. Someone referenced the piglet. Perhaps this is relevant. Piglet represents one in a state of generalized anxiety. He always worries and says, "Oh dear." Maybe he represents Mary's having been anxious over how best to serve her beautiful baby.
Mary, is that helpful for you?
Yeah, that was from Alice.
Yeah, that was from Alice. The first question was from Deborah. And now I'm going on to Sat Prem. She asked, do you ever communicate with an animal that has passed over for someone?
Yes, all the time.
Did she want to come on?
Got a short answer there, right? Never get a short answer. I'll elaborate. I mean, that was some of my earliest animal communication was from my dog, Kenya, who crossed over. And I'll never forget. I mean, that was heartbreaking for me. That was like years of grieving to get over that, like this loss. I had never had such loss for me, such a significant loved one. I mean, I had lost my brother, which was grief, but my dog Kenya, she was with me 24/7 for, 13 years. And after she crossed over, one of the things she said to me was, she taught me about food, the right kind of food that animals should be fed. And I had been learning it anyway. I was a dog trainer and I was an animal communicator. But one of the things she said was, tell people to never feed their dogs and cats dried food. She said, so, there's a whole lot she gave me, but one of the things she said was, Mommy, I was never happy with the food you gave me. It was heartbreaking for me to hear. And even though she didn't mean to break my heart by telling me that, she meant to say it in a way to help me to help others. But that was one of my earlier signs of times of communicating with animals who had crossed over. But yeah, to me, it's no different. The idea that they've crossed over is they've just entered in another dimension of non-physicality. So, yes.
Sat Prem, do you want to come on? Do you have a particular animal that you want to talk about? And if you do, anybody, go ahead and raise your hand.
you. Lori, it's so nice to meet you today. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to meet you too. I don't see your face. Do we, oh, sorry, Set Prem.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, there you are. Now I know who you are. Thank you. Thank you for
That's
speaking.
me right here.
It's
Okay.
nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you. Two questions, actually. One is my other two dogs that I have right now have not been the same uh, since Jake passed over.
Mm.
So it's been a couple of years. So I've tried to accommodate them in every way and work with them and do what I can on many levels to make them comfortable at some level again with being without their brother. But I think I've taken them as far as I can go with that. It was just too big of a loss for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any suggestions around that?
Well, I do, but I think I would have to break through some belief systems to get to share it. But because one of the things that you said was it was too big of a loss for them too. And what I would say is that animals, they don't store up trauma the way we do. So what it really is, it was such a big loss for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a huge, and I mean, I get it, like such a huge loss for you. And they're reflecting that part to you.
That makes sense.
So, and in your efforts to, help them, which is a beautiful thing, because that's how our animals help us. We're trying to help them, and by giving to them, we're often giving to them that which we actually need, which is part of like what we call a benefactor relationship, how they help us and we help them, and everyone benefits. So, but what I'm really getting is it's not a shift that they have to make. It's not a trauma that they're holding. It's a shift for you. And I will say, as a person who loves my animals so deeply and gets so attached, like so many of us do, that it is amazing what energy healing can do for that. And I don't know you, and I don't know how much healing you may have done on this topic, but a really fabulous energy healer can really help with it, because it's one thing to know that that there really is no death. It's one thing to know that it's like just stepping out of one reality and into another. It's one thing to know it's kind of like walking through a door that just you didn't know what was on the other side before you walked through it. And to know that they're still alive, and your animal, Jake, is still alive and continuing. We can connect with him. We could, but this is what's coming through. This is where it came through. It's another thing to have a different energetic resonance, to shift your resonance so much that you go from, it was just too big of a loss, to somehow I've moved past, or I'm free, or I've merged and resolved that density that I was holding there. And so this is my point to you, Sat Pram, is that, and I don't know the energy healing that you may have done, but really good energy healing can help you move past that, because you're not meant to carry that pain, and nor are your animals. And your grief or your loss for Jake, you can love him even more, and just as much or even more. No, please don't with the carpet. You can love him even more and not have to have the pain. You don't have to have the grief or the loss, and still love him just as much or even more. Yeah. All right, but is that helpful? I hope so.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I don't have any issues around death or dying. I'm good with it. I'm clear with it, and I'm very clear about how I feel about energy and beings in other realms and other vibrations. So I'll have to think about that, because I didn't realize that I was still holding on to anything around it. They've calmed down, they're fine, but for the first 6 months, I didn't maybe,
Maybe you didn't process it.
yeah, that's where I was headed.
Yeah, I heard that from you, from your brain. But I get that you have no issue with death. I get it. You are advanced in your awareness. But the reason I went in that direction was that what I was perceiving was, from the words you said, it was just too much of a loss for them. And where my guidance showed me was an arrow pointing back to her. So that's why I went in that direction. And so your mental knowing that I picked on telepathically, which was maybe it's her who didn't grieve, maybe she didn't really grieve, that feels like a bing bing to me. Bing bing makes sense. Let's go back to your other two. Yeah, because I feel like they will make that shift as you do for them.
They're pretty
Connecting with Jake. Do you live in Sedona? Are you in Arizona?
Not anymore.
But you were when he was yours?
No, that was many years ago.
Okay, well, this is what I'm getting from Jake. And it was it how many years ago? At least 2? Was it 2 years? How many years ago did he cross?
Almost, yeah, two and a half, somewhere in
Okay.
there.
Well, what I'm getting is I'm still in the non-physical. I have not reincarnated into physical again.
Oh,
I am running and playing in the portaled energy above Sedona that my mother dreamed about for so long.
right on. Thank you.
And you know what's also interesting? He says, I'm saving myself for her. So that he will come back, but not while there's a pain of loss, because that gap energetically is not the space he's meant to come back into. Does that make sense?
I'm going to go in and look at if I have any residual. I thought I was pretty well done with it, but I'm being told right now that I need to go back in and look and follow what you're saying.
Or just be ready to receive a new one, because it's not like he's in a rush to get back. My understanding, he's having a great time. He's living in a space of eternity and no time. But just that he'd be willing to come back to you. More, he's saving himself for you, in a sense, to come back for when the time is right. And when I asked, when is the time right? And he says, what I'm hearing is, the time will be right when there's no empty space.
Thank you. I will heed your wisdom. Thank you very much.
Okay. Keep me posted.
Okay.
I got chills, Satpram, when she said, I got chills all over. That was something. Woo.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay.
It is really amazing what comes, like from these consciousness.
I want to read some of the comments that we have here. Let's see here. Kimberly, we put our border collie down in 2012 and got another border a few months later. Interestingly, my old paradigm of my life began to fall apart. Oh, that's really interesting. Can you come on, Kimberly? Kimberly, are you here? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and continue this.
I can see the question. We put our border collie down and got another border collie a few months later. Interestingly, my old paradigm of my life began to fall apart. That's what we're reading, right?
Yes. Yep.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cindy.
Yeah,
I'm assuming this was a part of our soul contracts. I'm now going through a divorce with Charlie. Charlie is the border collie, right, Kimberly? Okay. I'm now going through a divorce. Was Charlie brought to me for any other reason to walk this path with me? He is so loving, but does not ever have a mind of his own. But does he ever have a mind of his own? Does he ever? I'm first just asking about Charlie, because I feel like there's multiple things coming up that are related to your question, and it's like a tapestry, and I'm asking, can we just go to Charlie first? Well, of course he has a mind of his own. He just is here for you. This is what I hear. What my mommy doesn't realize, and she is beginning to realize more and more, some of which is with your help, is that she's going through an extreme transformation. And while it seems like there is much letting go, there's much more that will be coming in shortly, which will be much more benevolent for her, enjoyable. Of course, I have a mind of my own. I just play your puppy dog for your love, for your pleasure. I'm here for you to love me so that you remember you are capable of so much love. And that is what's most important, is that you remember your capacity to love during this time. I'm also here to show you love, so you remember you are loved. Oh, he's a cutie. All right, there's a little bit more coming through for you. It's about the tapestry part. I'm asking, who's this coming from? And this is your own higher self. In earlier points of linear time, what she, I, we are going through could have been determined to be something akin to that which you would refer to as a dark night of a soul. During this time, Kimberly is dismantling so much of her old reality. And this includes the marriage and the partnership. There are other dissolutions going on at this time as well, including relocation and potential for new career and work and other pathways unfolding before her, which we have yet to explore. Rest assured that while the path may not always seem clear, we are exactly where we're meant to be. This is known, of course. And the ever unfolding path is part of that which will be bringing forward more of the joy and the excitement which is yet to come. You're welcome. Love you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we have Pervo, I'm not sure that I'm saying your name properly, says that, are you there? Do you want to come on? Aporvo, okay.
Aporvo. Where in Hawaii are you?
Maui?
Oh, that's where I lived.
Yeah. Walo.
Oh, Walo. I was up in well, I was in Kihei at first, and then I was in Makawao and Pukalani.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. How are you?
Okay. You? Yeah.
I'm good. What's going on there?
Well, a few things. The first thing is I feed a lot of cats. You know, there's a lot of cats here. Took 12 to my house. Well, I took 9. Some of them are still feral. Kind of. Little Bear came home. She's a little black girl. She came home 3 days ago with her face not okay. And her face, her mouth isn't okay. Her body seems kind of okay. She couldn't eat it all the first night. She tried to hide. And last night and the night before, I gave her some raw egg. She could eat, but her tongue is sticking out. And I don't know if she got hit by a car or mauled by a dog or a pig or what. And I can't touch her. I don't think I might be able to trap her, but she could hurt herself more. And I don't know if I can help her or need to.
Wow, that's a tough one. Okay, Little Bear is her name, and your question, if I'm understanding your question, is what happened to her and what can I do to help her, if anything.
Right.
Is that right? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what I'm hearing is that she got into a brawl. I'm asking her, can you show me? That's what I'm picking up. And it feels like it was a baby. I don't understand this. What this is, it's a little challenging to translate. I have the higher, oh, look at that. Interesting. Okay. I have the higher message. That part's always easier for me. It's just so easy to tap into the higher consciousness. What's that?
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
But I'm trying to still talk more to her personality self. And when I asked her to show me what happened, it looks like babies fighting. Like, and I don't quite understand that visual. And then while I saw that image and she's giving me this image, I saw like a snake slither across, which didn't make sense to me either. So I'm asking for more clarification. But I'll give you the higher message. The human I'm with, while she is so well-intentioned and is truly supporting and helping the animal community in her environment, is often taking on more than she can handle. And my misfortune was, to some degree, an indication to show her to stop taking on too much more than she could handle, to take on what she can handle. Because this is part of her own journey as a master. Does this make sense to you? I'm not in great pain. It is discomforting. My physical vehicle could use some medical attention. It could be beneficial and certainly put my human at some ease. For recovery without assistance could and would likely take significantly longer, which would put my human in a greater state of discomfort, worry, and anxiety. Therefore, the recommendation, higher self recommendation for the physical vehicle would be, if possible, and while the human does not, the idea of a trap would not be a good option. It's almost, I get that. I prefer my freedom. I prefer to not be trapped or encased or enclosed or forced. The answer was more provided from high self perspective to alleviate the concern and worry of the human, my human. The body of an animal can always repair quite well on its own. Nonetheless, there is almost only so much one person can do, and this is the overarching message. So, all right. So does that make sense so far anyway?
It does. It does. I feed over every night I feed. I had 12 here. I never meant to be a crazy cat lady. I did. My friends, I had one and then two that I found the mother, fed the babies up that started coming at night. And then others I was feeding. Friends had to move out of their house. It was for sale. So I trapped 9 cats and took them here. And then I have, 10 more up the road every night.
I totally remember that when I lived in Maui. I was functioning like I had at one point like 8 dogs, and 2 of them were puppies from the side of the road. And I mean, I was alone. I had no money. It was just crazy. It's just, I get that. It's like that, in the islands. But I mean, I think for you, this is a very COVID related type of experience. Like, the guidance I'm going to give you more is just what's happening on Earth is we're being given an opportunity to look at where life is working for us and where it's not. And I mean, I love animals too, but eventually what I really realized was that wasn't my highest calling. And I'm not saying that's not your highest calling. I'm saying that even that you called yourself a crazy cat lady is a indication to me that that's not really your highest calling, because a person who's doing that isn't calling themselves a crazy cat lady. You're not a crazy cat lady. You're a loving, caring person, right?
Sounds like people hear that I have that many cats here. Yeah.
Right.
Not.
So, I mean, you just might want to look within yourself. Is this my highest calling? And, we do the best we can to be of service. And if it is your highest calling, then maybe the next calling is to incorporate as a not-for-profit and to start getting some funding, or maybe to turn it into something greater. If that's your love and your joy and you can build on it. That's not really the question you asked me, so I didn't go down that, but that's kind of a little bit of what's lighting up.
What do I do? I mean, they depend on me. And there's not really great options here on Maui. There's too many animals already. I looked, if there was a good option, I would love to not have 12 cats at my house.
Seriously, I rescued 2 dogs there, puppies, and I adopted them out to the mainland because there weren't good options. I get it. I mean, it's a difficult situation, right? But one thing if you could do is possibly get either some assistance, some volunteer assistance, or some kind of possible assistance from the local shelters. I know they're not the greatest, but at least I don't know. When I was there, they were not well run, but that was many, many years ago. So maybe that's different now. But to at least get yourself some assistance, because you're in a situation. I mean, if I just now sort of shift my attention from her to you, it's like she's in a trajectory that is kind of taking her down a pathway that ultimately is not for her most benevolent best. So you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the first thing is like get some assistance. And I mean, the way you get assistance, literally, if I were to show you my house right now, there's packing things everywhere. I'm moving. And that's why my father was here, he's helping me. But literally, I had to do a prayer. Like a couple times, like, send me help to my doorstep. And that's what happened. My father was like, I'm coming over, I'll help. So, just even doing a prayer, like, send me good, responsible, reliable, humane, loving, kind, ethical help. And it is available to us. See, that's the one thing that's so important for us to realize now, is that we're on a state of reality where all of these dimensions of reality are open to us that we've never played with before in a conscious way. So we, in our mind, might be thinking, in our human linear mind, oh, there's nobody here, there's no possibility. But that's because we haven't played at this frequency where all these other possibilities are available to us that we didn't know were available before. So just by you asking, what would be possible that could bring some help to me, to support me, and to ease up some of the work of it? Because your animal cat that's part of what your cat was picking up on energetically, that you need help. and that this is more than you can handle, right? So that's what's been brought to light. So the guidance is for you to be, all right, divine source, higher self, creator, God, holy, loving, divine source, whatever however you interact and engage with that consciousness, infinite consciousness, bring forward a person or people who would be helpful and do it from joy and love, who are reliable and responsible, and bring it forward as immediately and benevolently as possible with love and grace. What is the highest and most benevolent, best possibility that can come forward? And you put that out there, you ask it, you don't answer it. Let the universe provide. And just be willingly receiving. That's a first step. That's only one first step. But it's a good first step to get you the help, so you don't have to be taking that all on your own. And then also ask, always be asking like for guidance, like, I love helping animals and I'd like to be feeling good about it and supported in the endeavor. This is you working with your own higher self and your own higher consciousness. Like, what's a good and right direction for me? What's the next appropriate action for me? What's the next appropriate right step for me to take? And then you start following your own guidance on that. I'm looking down here because that's where your picture is, but is that helpful for you?
It is. And when you said about moving, I can't move. How do I move?
Well, you're not there yet.
I'm not there yet.
You have to think of our lives, like, especially when we have some big kind of dream or something we want to make a change. It happens in stages. And it's rare that it happens like so dramatic. Like, I've been in a moving process literally for 6 months. Like, it was Christmas time when I went to try to figure out where I was moving. And here I am 4 months later. And that was only after 2 months of, actually 6 months even, of realizing, like, I think I'm done in Florida. So it's happening in stages for you, and allow yourself to do one stage at a time. The first stage is to get yourself some help and support. And then your next stage is, which comes like right on the heels of that, coupled with it, is like, all right, guidance. I'm willing to receive the guidance. What's the next right, appropriate step for me to take to level me up to the next highest state of divine grace? Help me to be and stay and remain in a state of divine grace so I can follow my next right, appropriate step at each moment of my life. Because that is our new paradigm. There's no question in my mind about that. The new paradigm is, are you going to live life in a state of divine grace and continue on your ascension journey, you, all of us, or are you going to choose to go on a descension journey down a rabbit hole of fear, worry, doubt, fret, anxiety with the rest of humanity who has chosen not to wake up? And that is a major choice point we're at right now. And the way I see it is, and I get this from the law of polarity, which is a universal law on the 6th dimensional bandwidth that communicates with me. All those laws on the 6th dimensional bandwidth, they do interact with me with consciousness. It's like, it's saying, things have become so polarized that what's happening is there's a bifurcation, which is basically a separation of realities. And this is science, the stuff of science fiction, but it's really true. It's like our reality is separating off from realities that are no longer mutually harmonious and mutually uplifting and supporting. So you have to know, like, are you going down a fear timeline or a joy-love timeline? And the way to be on that joy-love timeline is grace. Show me grace. Show me what grace means. Let me be in grace. Let all my animals feel it too. Does that make sense? Lovingly nurture yourself through it one step at a time. And
That's
it will
really
happen for you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I do have a little message from this little bear who says something like, thank you. And now my purpose is done with that. It's funny because his higher self personality isn't in any discomfort or pain. So he's like smiling and glad that the message got through for you, because he loves and is grateful to you, because he recognizes your service and he's appreciative He is eating. He says he's able to eat. He's eating, right?
Raw egg, and I kind of the last 2 days some raw egg and a little maybe try to eat sardines, just maybe a little tiny bit.
Well, he doesn't really let you touch him, right?
No.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give him like mush types of food. It's really soft food for a while.
Right.
Because you're not gonna be able. I also agree that trapping is probably not a best choice for him. It would add further stress. You're going to have to keep your eye on him. Just coming back full circle to where we started. You're going to have to kind of keep your eye on him. And if gets to the point where it doesn't seem to be improving. And do you know any healers, like Reiki healers or energy healers? Or
I could find that.
Well, on my web, I don't even have this in publicly, but I have a gifted healing list that I offer to people and animals, and it's no charge. I just do healing for people in my community, and you could put your name and your animals' names. You can put it on as often as you want, like as many animals as you want, and at least you can get some remote energy healing. Like I just do energy and I do service work. I like once a week I'm in a light worker group where I have a few friends and we get together and we do planetary healing once a week, every week without fail for like 4 hours a night. And we'll include our lists in that. And then once a week for me, I just do healing for my community, anyone who's opted into that. And so if I can find the exact address of the list, I'll give it to you. But I would if you can get with some, like any Reiki healer, or just, any healer who's willing to work on your cats remotely. A lot of healing circles do that, where they just do it, and you don't even, that's not even on you. That would really help him a lot. I'm getting like a big thumbs up guidance wise on that. So does that make sense? Here it is. It's lorispagna.com/sacred-healing-list.
Okay, I don't have a pen.
In fact, what I could do, there's a teeny URL we set up because it's kind of long, but is there a way to put it in the chat?
Yeah. Andrew, can you put that in the chat?
Here, I found it. Here we go.
Oh,
Woo! I just put it in there.
Yay. Good. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, did it work? I
No,
might have gone to Kimberly privately by accident. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead and put it in there again and just go
Send
up to
everyone. There we go.
I did it already.
Yeah, Andrew already did it.
There it is. Okay.
Excellent.
Yay. There we go. So
Okay.
yeah, that will help. I mean, but I would still get I would see if you could get anyone, because people in Maui, that's one thing I remember I loved about Maui. It's like I felt like everyone was a healer. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I was. So that's where I got my start with animal communication. In fact, for anyone who doesn't know me, it's not where I got my start. I got my start before then, but I'll never forget, shared this story a few times. I was on Craigslist. This is like 15 years ago or more.
Wow.
And I was on Craigslist and somebody had posted that she was looking for an animal communicator. And I wrote back to her. I never met her. She was on another island. She was on Oahu. And I was like, hey, I'm an animal communicator. I'm not a professional. I'm still developing my gifts, but I'll do it for free, as a service. And I can't promise you anything because I'm not professional, but I'm happy to do my best to help. I wrote to her. I said, send me the picture of the animal and the name. Don't tell me anything else. So she sent me a picture of this foal, just the head of the foal, and the head of the mom was in the picture. And I tuned into this foal, just like, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to, what can you share with me? And all I kept hearing was, I'm stumped. I'm stumped. And I thought it was my own thought, I'm stumped. I'm stumped. And I heard like, go below the knee. And I was like, it's just the face. What do you mean go below the knee? I just didn't get it. I was like a little frustrated. So I write back to her and I'm like, gee, I'm so sorry. I really am not getting anything. All I keep hearing is I'm stumped and go below the knee. She writes back to me, Lori, we had to amputate below the knee. Can you please go back and see what else you get? So I go back to the horse. Now I'm like confident in myself. And I'm like, I hear the horse go, there's dead people around. There's bad people around me. They want to kill me. Tell them to go away. I want to live. And oh, by the way, can you tell them to give me some more carrots? So I wrote back to her and I told her that. And she was like, oh, that's exactly what we wanted to know. We had vets around and we didn't know if we should euthanize this foal who had this accident and we had to amputate below the knee. And now that we got that, we're going to keep him alive and we'll get him a prosthetic.
Wow.
That changed everything for me.
Wow.
After that, I was like, I'm going in. Yeah. So, but that was on Maui. So anyway, well, she wasn't on Maui, but the horse wasn't on Maui. But anyway, I hope that's helpful.
Thank you
For
so
you.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for your service to animals.
Well, this has been so wonderful. And do you have time for another person?
Yeah, we'll do one more.
Okay. Cindy Weber, and she's a friend of mine, and we are crazy cat people, but we really love that title. I have t-shirt that says, I want all the cats. I have 3 kitties and
Careful what you ask for, Cindy.
yeah. Well, I go and I get to have all the kitties because I take care of them, over the holidays and stuff. So I'm a foster, and so is she. And she had 3 of her kitties die in 3 months. And Cindy, if you're on, can you join us?
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm gonna go ahead and just give her your story and what a journey you've been on.
It has been. Thank you, Cindy,
Mhm.
and Lori. So last May I had Harley, who was one of my first TNRs that I did. He and his brother, Bowtie. And I've had them for 5 years, almost 6 years, since they were about 6 weeks when I trapped them. So Harley, with no symptoms, no pre-diagnosis or anything, here in my living room, had what turned out to be a massive heart attack and passed away. And so that was really sudden, obviously, and just devastated me. He was like a soul kitty. He was the social director. He was just super special. And then in July, or actually the end of June, my bottle baby Q-Tip, who was all white, had him since 2 weeks. He passed away July 29, after getting sick at the end of June. And basically I wound up giving him hospice care through July, and then he unfortunately passed away. And then I have an outside kitty who showed up 5-6 years ago and refused to come indoors, but was fabulous. We've got a heated house for him, a gazebo, eats every day. That kind of neighbors knew him, all that. Never saw him again after being outside with him that night that Q-Tip died. So spent time looking for him and have come to the realization that it was probably a predator. Didn't know they were that active in this area, but they were last summer. So just the devastation of all 3 within 3 months, and getting through that and grieving and trying to celebrate, their lives and the different meanings that they had in my life, and inspiring me to rescue other kitties. And so I do rescue other kitties. I'm up to about 75, I think.
Wowza.
Yeah, in 6 years, something like that. So anyway, so I didn't know if any of them would be here and come through.
Well, I do get that they brought you onto your path.
Oh, for sure.
And I do totally get, agreement with you on, not that you need my agreement on this, but that they are soul matches for you. And You know, a lot of times, one of the things that's kind of interesting about the death and dying process is that when they leave in a set of like, usually like with soul deaths, if one soul exits, another soul's coming in. You'll see that a lot. And this is humans and animals. Or sometimes if there's a significant message, it'll happen in threes. Like if there's a significant transformation happening. So I get that. There was a significant transformation going on in your life at that time. And of course, I mean, you became an animal rescue person, basically, which has added so much to your life and brought so much fulfillment to you. And you've helped so many animals. So we know that that's significant right there. And part of it was just a big cleanup. That's what I'm hearing, big cleanup. And when I ask, what does that mean? Why am I getting, because I've got like, I went to the 3, and the 2 that sort of responded quickly, Q-Tip and Harley. And it was a big cleanup. Well, what does that mean? What was that? It was a cleanup of her life at that time. Everything leading up to that time was really a mess. She wasn't very happy or fulfilled. And she herself and her life at that time was full of loss that wasn't being cleaned up. Does this make sense to you?
I have to think about that and what that means. Yeah.
We were also ready to move on in our journey, in a sense, because we were conflicted, in a sense, between 2 different lifetimes or 2 different lives. There was a conflict that these cats had too. That's what I'm getting and understanding. In a sense, our work here was done. And it's true that we animals do help humans to handle and navigate the death and dying experience. And for her, Cindy, this is no different. Humans attach a great amount. I'm saying this is not new information, what's about to come through. And they're saying, let it come through anyway. And I will. For humans, the death and dying process is greatly conflicted and often comes with much pain and suffering. And we animals, especially us two, Harley and Q-Tip, we're charged with the mission of helping Cindy to transform her perspective on death and the death and dying process. For while humans, and this is a great, wow, this is another higher self aspect joining in. It's a star family race being of part of our collective group, representative of our collective. For this is a great disservice that has been done to humanity. And this is part of what could be contrived as an aspect of conspiracy, although we would not necessarily use that word simply because it was part of the human agreement to experience the death and dying process in this way. Nonetheless, it is known that humans have been separated from their awareness that there is no death, and further instilled trauma has been instilled within humanity, to experience death in a painful, grieving type of way with great loss and great doubt, great uncertainty, and of course, great fear. This fear is projected into their future timeline experiences, which further elaborates and expands on the fear, the trauma, the loss, the grief, the pain, and the suffering. And so therefore, and by the way, this is unnecessary while we understand that experience, for we have been part of it and we have participated in it. we would like to offer here, in collaboration with the animals who have come forward, we would like to offer here the opportunity for all beings involved in this group circle to level up your awareness, not only to the knowing that there is no death, but rather to the full embodiment, embracing of the energetic frequency of the awareness that while there is a loss through the experience of separation, there is never a death, and that all beings live on for eternity. All awarenesses live on for eternity, have always and will always exist, and will never cease to exist. And through this awareness, not only through that which is referred to as the left analytical brain awareness, but that which is referred to now as a whole body awareness, through this form of an awareness, the pain, the grief, the loss shall be lessened. And certainly the fear shall be significantly reduced, and perhaps at some point in your humanity's not so distant evolution will be eradicated. For though you will continue to make choices to leave this incarnation and this embodiment, you will also make choices to return at future points in your linear time with the new knowing that there never is and never shall be a true or real death. These two animals step forward more in conjunction now. And that it was part of our message to our human to help her learn this. I ask, as you are already, what about the third kitty? He has moved on. It's not coming forward at this time. I'm not sure why. I could probably work a little harder to get it, but that was what I got. So,
is that kitty boy? The third kitty?
There's one more piece here. The collective of our group, the higher self, and the source creator, God, the divine, which is overseeing and overlooking all of our ever beings, which have fractaled off from source creator God and have created the individualities of each individual on this group, including all the animals connected to the humans here, would like to provide the healing on that which was just spoken of, referred to, so that energetically all can come into resonances with the higher truths of that which was spoken. Now, nothing need be done other than to give your consent if you so choose, and to lovingly breathe and relax yourselves to allow the healing to take place, for it shall be done if you so consent, and only if you so choose. If you choose not, and it shall be, and so that shall be as well. They're telling me to be silent for a moment and take a few breaths and relax and let it be done. And just notice. Just notice. It's just an energetic shift, a vibrational shift, a new resonance that shifts and changes your whole paradigm in a matter of moments, even if you're not consciously aware of it immediately. That's okay. This is done. Good. Awesome. Okay, good. So I'm sorry, Cindy, what was that? How are you guys doing? Is that helpful?
Yeah. The kitty boy was the other one. He was the one that kind of all of a sudden went missing, and you said isn't coming forward. So that's kind of interesting.
Does it feel like he has other work he's doing? Cindy, I'm just.
It feels like he's moved on, and he's not. It's not like he's not, because it's like we know life is eternal. It just feels like he's not as in your vibrational resonance as much anymore. So it's kind of like I'm just looking for him. Like it's not like he can't be found. You know what I mean? He's just not as it's like my brother Jeffrey. He died, almost 20 years ago. And now it used to be that I could connect with him like that. Now if I want to connect with him, I kind of have to go searching for him a little bit more. That's all. Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of like moved on. And that's what I'm hearing. This is not directly from him so much as it is from the higher consciousness that we're working with. It's just, I mean, they're asking, do you really need to hear from him? He's moved on. He's doing other things. Yes. He's reincarnated. He's very involved with his life in a physical form and enjoying his life. It's not impossible to catch him or connect with him. It's not necessarily relevant or helpful. What you've received is what was meant to come through. Trust that that's what you were meant to get. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I hope that's helpful. I think it brought through some good stuff for everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, this has been so wonderful, Lori. I love it. And one of the things that we talked about, and I want to talk about this, but I do want to take just like a 2-minute break because I need to go to the restroom. I have been a TOA here. And so if we can do that, then I want to talk about Bill Gates. This is a switch in subjects for just a second, unless you want to come back and talk about that.
Well, we can do that, but I mean, I don't mind spending a few more minutes. I can't go for a whole half an hour. You know,
Right.
I can
No, just a few
take
minutes.
a quick restroom break, and we'll finish up with like 10
Okay.
minutes.
I'm going to go to the
I haven't
restroom.
stopped talking, so it might be longer than that anyway.
And I'll be right back.
All right, awesome. I love seeing all your names. I recognize some of your names. Like I remember Aunt Selena. Hi, Aunt Selena. And I thought I saw a couple other names in here I remember. I know Penny. Hi, Penny. I think I know Sharon. Sometimes I don't always know people's face. I know Colleen. I think I know that last name. Some of these, you guys, I recognize from my events. That's cool. And of course, Kimberly. It's always fun to see.
First time I get to hear you. I've known about you. I've seen you advertised on being on, but I've never actually heard you. And it's quite interesting. Are you Italian background? Is Spagna Italian?
Yeah. Yeah. I never even think about that anymore, but yes, my family is. They actually we had our roots traced, and it goes back to Spain. In 1492, we were kicked out of Spain for being Jews during the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they became wandering Jews, and they migrated to Italy because that was a similar language, and that's where my ancestors settled, and they adopted the name.
I think that's my ancestors, the Mondia side. It's supposedly like the bastard son of a noble or something. So from the area of Barcelona. Pardon?
Did you have that traced?
It's hard to trace it because it only goes as far back into Italy, but there's stories that I'm hearing. So similar stuff.
Yeah. That's fun. It's fun to do that. I mean, my father had a whole researcher.
Anyway, Cindy's back, so I'm gonna.
Yes, I'm back, and Penny said she's taking a bio break. I love that. That's great. I just want to go back to Cindy for just a second because I think what you said was really big and big for all of us, which is learning from the animals. You know, we learn how to live from them. We also learn how to die from them. And your message gave me goosebumps all over when you said that. That's big. That's a really big part. And one thing that, you know, my dad passed, Lori, in March 12th. And I realized one of the greatest gifts that he gave all of us is he taught us how to die, and to die on our own terms, which is exactly what he did. And he was supposed to stay longer, which would have put him right in the middle of all of the COVID deaths that were happening in the nursing homes all at once. He chose to leave earlier than that. He chose to leave one day. He promised he would be here for my granddaughter for the birth of his great grandchild, his first. And she was born on the 11th and he passed on the 12th. And he got to do it his own way and with dignity and in complete gratitude. So when you were talking about that, I'm thinking isn't that what our animals teach us? Yeah. And that just spoke really volumes to me.
Yeah.
So Thank
Well,
you.
the other, my pleasure. And the other, and I'm sorry to hear about your dad because it is a loss. You know, like we
I was
we
surprised at the grief. It hit me. It slammed into me like crazy because I wanted him to go because I couldn't deal with the suffering anymore. I didn't want any more amputations. I didn't want, he was 100% dependent on others, and this was one independent man while when he was younger, and a business owner, very successful businessman, and so I wanted that for him, but it's I don't know why it did, but the grief it just slammed into me, and I wasn't expecting it. But I realized death is one thing and grief is proof that you have loved, and so I just allowed myself to experience that pain from him, and he was a hero. He kept showing up. So
I mean, I so agree with you. But one of the things the animals tend to say, one of the things the animals tend to say so often is, it's okay. We understand your grief is an expression of your love. But what we want for you to do is to celebrate our lives with you, celebrate us. And it's not easy for us to do that because we feel the grief, but they're saying like to really, you don't need to shed a single tear to show us how much you love us. In fact, we would like you to, shed your joy, like celebrate with joy and happiness to celebrate our lives.
and that's what we did.
Yes. And also like, because the animals so often are, like they're so of service. It's like, I know for me now, myself, and I learned this from angels too, is like angels say all the time, we work for gratitude. Like nothing thrills us more. Like they don't need money. They're not like they don't really need affirmation. They just are so happy that they are acknowledged in the sense of that their help made a difference. Mm-hmm. And that's why the universe does respond so well to gratitude. That's part of why. And the animals are like that too, in that sense. Like they just want us to celebrate them. And because they're doing service, when we acknowledge how much we learned through our experience with them, that is glorifying them, really glorifies their whole mission and purpose for being with us. So I love that, Mm-hmm. And yeah, my sense is that the healing that we did will really shift people. Like I've had some clients where they've lost family members and they've watched their siblings really break down, where they were able to sort of watch, being like, wow, I mean, I know how much I loved my parent and yet I'm not in so much pain. And I know that's from that kind of a healing. It's kind of like you can love them so much and not have to go through all that pain. One of my animals, when she crossed over, and I did an animal communication session with someone who I love, who's a friend of mine, and she said that this was her words from my dog. She said, "Mom, get over it." And I thought, that's so interesting. I mean, it really helped me because it was such a helpful reading and translation for me, because I was, I was seeing her through the corner of my eye and I knew she was around me. I knew she hadn't left. I knew she was with me, but I just couldn't, I was in my pain and I just wanted someone to translate for me. And when I heard that, I was like, I wouldn't have picked that up from my dog. It was so helpful. She was just saying, don't cry over me. I'm here. I'm alive. Everything's well. I'll come back when you're ready, when time is right. Get over it. Get over yourself, was what she said.
Wow.
Don't cry for me. I'm not saying we shouldn't cry. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just offering perspective.
It's so good to cry for my dad and to really.
Yeah, I mean, I honor that too.
Now
of course.
We certainly celebrated his life, and we had 3 celebrations of life when he tried to make it over the Rainbow Bridge 3 different times, and he kept trying to cross halfway and then turn around, came back. So we had celebrations of life that we had planned, and he wanted to be there. So he got to be there for 3, and then he showed up at his virtual celebration of life virtually. and showed us definite proof. And it was, and it's filmed on camera when all of this took place. And we were just like, oh my gosh. So it was wild. He was there, and he also told me in short order that he was coming right back. My mom isn't coming back for a while, she told me, but my dad's coming back. He says he's got work to do. So I'm like, okay, let me know if I get to meet you in this lifetime.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And you guys, thank you so much for being here and sharing and playing. It was really fun. I love the intimacy of like, you know, connecting like this. It's just, it's like so connected and so family, feels like, you know, so bonding.
I love seeing everybody's faces instead of just a voice. I get to actually put a face to the voice, and I love our soul family. This is our soul gang. So
Awesome.
I'm glad that you're part of our soul gang, Lori, and so wonderful. And you made me feel a lot better for Ferris's critters and for my own, because this is a transition for all of us. So I thank you for that. And everyone, let's go ahead and open up the lines and thank Lori. Lori, thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Awesome. I love you. I love you.
Love you.
Loves you.
Hey, did you fix your problem?
Thank you.